Good morning, friends, and welcome to Take Two for this Friday, the 7th of September, 2018. Now, I would like to talk to you a little bit today about old dogs and new tricks. Now, let me explain what I mean by that. In recent days, it was time to get some new mobile devices, new phones. The ones that we were using sort of became obsolete. I use my phone for more than just a phone. I use it particularly for a lot of work having to do with our radio station. So it was just time. We were running out of memory, and really the phones we were using were kind of called like starter phones, and their life is usually right at about a year, and now it was like coming on 18 months, so it was time. So Big Tom and I went over to our provider to have a new phone. And all the workers that work in this place are all probably like 20-somethings, early 20-somethings maybe. So these young kids, they are just completely savvy with all of the new technology. But you had a couple of old dogs walking in, and it was time for us to learn a few new tricks. So we asked Lewis, who works in the company there, and the phone providers, the cable provider, whatever, the mobile device provider, and said, what should we do? Oh, you need to get this. And of course, he pointed us to the one with all the bells and whistles, and it was a phone that is just like, I guess the company is really pushing. So we just blindly said, sure, let's do it. So he hands us these two new phones. And really, we should have really done a little research before we got started, because we took them home and we didn't understand these phones. They were extremely challenging to navigate. We just couldn't do it. It just made us crazy. So here we are now with our phones, and we're like, okay, what do we do? What do we do? We've got these phones. We don't know how to do it. So I call up and I said, well, what do we do? And the answer was, well, you have like 6 days to make up your mind. We'd be happy to refund or change out or whatever. So here I am for the next 2 or 3 days trying desperately to navigate this thing and getting more and more frustrated. Tom's freaking out. He's like, I can't do this. So we go back. We get different phones that are easier to use. And that's the rest of the story. But that's not actually the rest of the story of what it is I'm trying to share with you. See, the people who work there, like I said, they're all young. And the one gal who waited on us initially, she's like maybe 22 years old, honestly. And she said, well, she had the phone in her hand. She's going, I don't understand, because you're the first person who's ever brought this back. Nobody ever has trouble with these besides you. And Tom leaned over and looked at this lovely young lady and said, well, it might be because we're old. Now, I know age is all relative. Don't get me wrong. I know that age is in your heart. It doesn't necessarily mean that you are, out to pasture. But I started thinking about all the new tricks these old dogs have learned over the years. Like, for example, while we were cleaning out my mom's house, we came across a lot of her old favorite cooking things, her favorite pots and pans, and her favorite utensils that she used to make countless meals over the decades that she cooked in her kitchen. And some of them were probably original things from when she first got married 60 odd years ago. And I started thinking about, well, we go with the flow. Sometimes it's hard, but, like, for example, whereas maybe some people would use something like this kind of whisk or egg whisker or, to do all their cooking, and then all of a sudden they get introduced to the wonderful world of technology where they could actually have an electric mixer. I wonder how many people, like maybe in my grandmother's era, thought this was ludicrous, that it was almost like a crime or a sin to use something like this when this perfectly is fine to do the job. Here's another example. What about, as years have gone on, how many people, your grandmothers or even your parents, wash their clothes in something like this, a wash tub and a washboard, and they did all the scrubbing by hand. What did they think when suddenly something amazing and marvelous like this modern washing machine was introduced to them? What did they think? But somehow, some way, those old dogs managed to learn a few new tricks and discovered, you know what? This is not necessarily a tool of the devil. It's actually something that can whip cream a whole lot faster or make my lemon meringue pie not a 3-hour ordeal, maybe make it a 20-minute ordeal. Do you understand my point? There are a lot of new tricks that these old dogs can learn. And I know that you think that, you know, there's going to be times in your life where you say, there's just no way that I can learn anything new. I'll tell you, I felt so helpless in that store when they handed me that phone and I'm going, what do I do? And Tom's like, forget it. We're not going to use these phones. Fortunately, it has a good happy ending, the phone story, because I was able to get a new phone, a new mobile device, and it was a lot easier to navigate. And it was really quite humorous because Lewis, who works there, is probably, I don't know, maybe 25 at the most. And he said, well, for people your age, this is probably a better phone to use. And you know what? I can't get insulted because he's right. Sometimes it takes just a little longer for some of us old dogs to learn a few new tricks. But the good news is we're learning them and we're moving along, and we don't have to live in a whisk and wash tub society because we can learn how to use modern technology. Hey, here's something that is an old trick or a new trick for some that any old dog can learn, and that is to go be a blessing to somebody today. You might end up being the only one who is. So please, if that's going to be something new for you to do, for you to actually go out and be a blessing to somebody, you know, that's a new trick you definitely can learn. Okay, tune into my my YouTube channel, Jeanne Sigler, JeanneSigler. Make sure you tune in, hit that subscribe button, and when you do that, that might be a new trick for you to do today. And here's something new that might be for you to do, and that is tune in to WRMZ.org, click the listen button, and here's a new trick. Maybe you've never donated to us and you'd like to help keep us on the air. Oh boy, that's a few new tricks we could always appreciate. Just hit the donate buttons. Get your safe, secure donation made through PayPal. Okay, that's it. I think I'll go cook something. I don't know. Should I use this? Or should I use this? I'm not sure. You know what? I'll probably use this. Have a great weekend, everybody. I'll see you on Monday. I love you. I hope it's a really blessed, wonderful weekend filled with all kinds of new tricks. Love you. Bye-bye.